in the Southwest, and I think it was El Paso, Texas, but a little boy went up to a lady in a store, and what'd she say?
And what he said is what Johnny Gosch, or purportedly Johnny Gosch, went up to him and says, "I'm Johnny Gosch, please help me." And the woman remembered that after seeing one of those national programs, and it reminded of her in the Southwest. Now, they never actually said what city it was in the Southwest, but by 1984, so just 2 years from when Johnny Gosch was abducted, there were 12 separate sightings of Johnny Gosch down in Texas. So that gives you an idea of the amount of times he was being seen. But you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because Johnny Gosch was the second boy ever, or second person ever, to be on those carton of milks. Remember when they used to publish those and put those on there? He was number 2, so he was literally the poster boy of abducted children. And so that came out. Those milk cartons started being distributed at the same time these tips started to come in.
But at Pat Brown, criminal profiler, on the other hand, this is someone separate and distinct from Johnny Gosch's mother that says a little boy came up to her and said, "Help me, I'm Johnny Gosch."
Yes, Jean, but we hear that all the time when somebody goes missing. They are seen every place, and there's lots of stories. And I do want to clear up one thing. This sex trade thing, they do not race around kidnapping tons of people. They don't need to. They can just use runaways and people who are children getting into prostitution. They're not kidnapping everybody.
We've sold candy bars, we've sold buttons, we've had benefit dances, we've had garage sales, rummage sales, bake sales, anything that would be considered a fundraiser, we have done it.
Just before dawn on a quiet Sunday, September morning, 12-year-old Johnny Gosch wakes up early to make some money as a paperboy.
Johnny set out to deliver the papers for his West Des Moines neighbors.
But what happened after that remains a mystery.
The wagon Johnny used to deliver the Sunday paper was found near his home. The wagon filled with copies of that morning's newspaper.
Who would take an innocent 12-year-old boy?
Johnny's been missing nearly 30 years, but his family has never given up the fight to find him and are still hoping to find the now 42-year-old alive.
I'm Jean Casares. You know, in 1982, when 12-year-old Johnny Gosch went to go sell his newspapers that day, you know who went with him? His dog. There was an eyewitness to this abduction. It was his dog. His dog was with him, and the dog ran back home and made it home. If only that animal could talk. We're taking your calls live to Audrey in Illinois. Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Jean. Johnny Gosch has been compared to a young boy in Rockford, Illinois, named Joseph Didier, who disappeared exactly like him before Johnny Gosch. And there were questions in Rockford, Illinois, if the same man who had taken Joseph Didier had taken Johnny Gosch. Joseph Didier's body was found in a Boy Scout camp in Apple River, Illinois, eventually, but Johnny Gosch, of course, has never been found. But they had always linked the two because their disappearances were exactly the same. I wonder if the investigators have ever looked at the link between the two.
Well, we'll find out about that, but Audrey, listen to this. There is another missing child that allegedly could be linked to this, to Brad Ehrlich, anchor reporter joining us out of Des Moines, Iowa. The name Eugene Martin. Tell us about that case.
Yeah, Eugene Martin was in August 13th of 1984, so this is just about 2 years after Johnny Gosch was abducted, and he went missing. He was also a Des Moines paperboy, and the difference this time around is the legwork that Noreen Gosch had done before. She helped pass the Johnny Gosch law, which means in this state, when someone went missing, the police now have to start looking immediately. They can't treat it as a runaway. It's now treated as a kidnapping or something like that. That's the difference in those 2 years, but they searched and searched for Eugene, and they never found him.
A woman received in change in a store a dollar bill with the writing on the front of it, "I am alive," signed in cursive writing, Johnny Gosch.
vanish into thin air.
Look for her.
We just need to find her.
So many cases.
We're still looking.
So few leads.
Missing person.
It's our duty to find her.
Missing.
The witness seen the suspect on the Nancy Grace.
There is a God.
Nancy Grace show was out there for us.
Found alive. 50 people, 50 days, 50 nights. Let's don't give up.
It's Sunday morning, and thousands are about to begin their weekend ritual, the morning paper. 12-year-old Johnny Gosch delivers it. But this morning, the papers don't arrive, and Johnny won't return home. By daybreak, the Gosch family's phone begins to ring, customers inquiring about their papers. Dad goes and finds Johnny's wagon just blocks from home. Papers still stacked and untouched, but no sign of Johnny.
In the weeks and months that followed, Johnny reportedly was seen at least twice identifying himself to strangers.
But according to those same reports, a man quickly grabbed him away.
A woman received in change in a store a $1 bill with the writing on the front of it, "I am alive," signed in cursive writing, Johnny Gosch.
That's just one more roadblock the family says it's encountered while searching for Johnny.
We've sold candy bars, we've sold buttons.
To trace Johnny, they've spent $75,000.
We've had benefit dances, we've had garage sales, rummage sales, bake sales.
Which they raised themselves.
Anything that would be considered a fundraiser, we have done it.
All we want is our boy back, and we're willing to do anything to get him back.
I'm Jean Casares. Johnny Gosch's mother, Noreen Gosch, she testified in court in an unrelated action under penalty of perjury that 15 years after her son went missing in 1982, that he came to her home in the middle of the night with another man, and he said, "I want you to know I'm okay, I'm alive, I'm safe." He showed her his birthmark on his chest, but he said, "I've been sold into the sex trade industry. Don't try to find me or I will be hurt." Police say they don't know. They don't know if that's true or not. She says it is true. I want to go out to Natisha Lance. Natisha, on the morning in 1982, when Johnny Gosch was beginning to deliver his papers, there were other little paper boys out there, too. I don't understand why anyone didn't see him abducted.
That's right. There were 3 or 4 other newspaper carriers and an adult paper carrier who was out there that day, too. There were 2 brothers who saw him. They say that they saw him at his wagon there. They walked away for a bit, and when they came back 10 minutes later, Johnny was gone, but his wagon was still there. Now, this man who apparently approached Johnny in his vehicle, he also approached another man, an adult carrier of the newspapers, and asked him for directions, too. But again, what happens after that point is still such a mystery. Phone calls began to come into the Gosch's home saying that newspapers had been undelivered that morning. Johnny's father went out to look and find out what was going on. He ended up delivering all those papers. The family dog had gone home, the dog who had gone out with Johnny earlier that day. But it wasn't until 8:30 a.m. that morning when Johnny was reported missing to police.
Taking your calls to Fran in Tennessee. Hi, Fran.
Hi.
Thank you for calling.
I know it was, I guess watching this, it was early morning, but a lot of people are up awaiting the newspaper. Didn't anybody see a vehicle or did the police look for tire tracks or something?
Some good questions. First of all, there was a vehicle that was spotted in the area. The man that was actually talking to Johnny Gosch, and he went and he spoke with an adult carrier. At the time, they said it was a Ford Fairmont, a 2-tone vehicle, silver in dark black and dark blue. So there was a vehicle reported. To James Rothstein, who is the family investigator, do you know at all if there were tire tracks spotted? Did they go door to door canvassing the neighborhood to see if anybody saw anything?
Yes, there were no tire tracks there that I know of, and I do believe that the family did go at that time door to door and talk to everybody. And over the years, there's been a lot of information that came forward. And because I wasn't directly involved in the case, I don't know if the police ever did the follow-up investigations to determine what was accurate or if any of it was inaccurate. So I don't know what the police have done on that part, but I don't believe there were any tire tracks found.
I want to go to Natisha Lance. I want everybody to hear this story about the dollar bill, because it is another amazing alleged fact in this case.
Right. Well, it was 1985, and Johnny's parents, we've seen in some of the video coming into the show tonight, Johnny's parents gave a press conference, and his mother revealed that there was a dollar bill that was given in change to a woman at a supermarket in Sioux City, Iowa. And written on that dollar bill, it said, "I am alive," and then signed in cursive, Johnny Gosch. Now, the mother says that she had 3 handwriting experts look at that dollar bill, look at the signature, compare it to samples of Johnny's writing from before he disappeared, and those handwriting experts said that it was a match. However, police have not been able to confirm whether or not it was a match to Johnny's writing.
Just amazing. This is an amazing case with so many particulars that are individual to it. To Alan Ripka, defense attorney, I want to go back to when Noreen Gosch testified under penalty of perjury that her son came to her doorstep. That was in a court of law. It was an unrelated action, but the fact that she testified to that, knowing that she could be charged if it was not true, they did actually charge someone else in the case on an unrelated matter with perjury, but they didn't charge her at all.
Well, they couldn't prove that she was lying. And a woman like this who has been through a hell, her son being kidnapped and going through, I think, a massive depression, might believe that this actually occurred. And whether or not it did or did not, the court was not interested in charging her with perjury. But I'll tell you this, I do believe that this was a pre-planned kidnapping. I doubt that a sexual predator coincidentally was driving down the street and they watched this boy and he knew his newspaper delivery patterns.
To Patricia Saunders, clinical psychologist joining us from New York, Noreen Gosch, the mother of Johnny Gosch, also has said through the years that early on in 1985, I believe, she got 3 different phone calls, about 40 seconds in length each, and it was her son. Can someone be so distraught that to allow themselves to keep going, that these things can be figments of their imagination, to believe their son is alive?
Yes, Jean, that really can happen. In order to keep hope alive out of desperation and severe trauma of this kind, people can distort reality to a point where it's delusional. But you know, in the end, this mom has done an awful lot of good by raising people's consciousness, by making people more aware, and in that way, maybe she's helped some other parents protect their kids a little bit more and people be a little bit more vigilant.
And remember, everybody, there is legislation now in place because of Johnny Gosch and his abduction. What that legislation is that if a child goes missing, there must immediately be police attention and law enforcement investigation into that disappearance, and that is a very, very good thing. To Jody in North Carolina. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for calling.
My question was kind of answered by the psychologist. The mother sounds like, my question initially was the mother investigated? Because what she's saying sounds a little far-fetched, but I just wondered if she was also so desperate for her child to be alive that she was kind of having delusions of seeing him.
Let's ask the family investigator, James Rothstein, joining us. Why should we believe what Noreen Gosch has said? Because law enforcement says we can't confirm any of this.
Well, there's a very simple answer to that. Johnny Gosch has not been found. He was kidnapped. Anything is possible. And like I said, I base my information on things I have seen in the past in similar cases. And I can tell you that that visit by Johnny Gosch, as I said, I personally interviewed the man that was called to set it up. And if anybody wants
and
to
you
debate
believe
that,
it. All right, you believe it and you have credibility. Tonight, everybody, please help us find Destry Reinhardt. He is 18 years old. He vanished on August 1st, 2004 from Orlando, Florida. He is 5 feet 5 inches